I know we're kind of on a time, maybe a little bit of a time challenge here, so we're going to go through this pretty quickly. My name is Mark Emmerson. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Cisco. I've been with the company a little over 16 years.
Derek.
Co-presenting today and actually going to be doing most of the presentation because we really want to show you stuff. We don't want to do slides. Is Tomer Hagay. He's a consulting systems engineer. So I'm going to start just to kind of level set everybody on what is Cisco Prime. I'm sure you've all heard about it. We rolled it out last May at Interop. When you talk about Prime and what we want our customers to think about when they hear the word Prime is Cisco Prime is analogous with network management from Cisco, whether it's service provider or enterprise. Today we're going to focus mainly on the enterprise portfolio and the enterprise products. So let me start by explaining what Cisco Prime is. It's a strategy and an innovative product portfolio. And the strategy is really made up of two key components. One is what we call a network services foundation. As you guys know in talking to customers and others, you don't want to be at the box level management mentality, right? Network managers need to manage at the app level and the service level. And there's some benchmark applications out there that really provide challenges for us. Things like voice over IP, you've got to have dial tone. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Well, you have the dial tone, but do you have echo or jitter or something else going on, right? The next voice is video. So we see everybody moving to video and Skype. There's a lot of challenges with managing that. But the bottom line is, as a network manager, we get blamed for everything. If the coffee's not hot enough in the coffee pot, it's our problem. And we're trained at an early age that it's always a network issue, when in fact it may not be an issue with the network at all. So we're going to show you some examples of how we're taking this more service and application approach to managing, to be able to go from the application or the service directly into the network if it is a network issue and identify where that problem is. The other thing is when we went out and we talked to analysts about Prime, the feedback we got was just don't Prime wash your portfolio. It needs to mean something, okay? So when we talk about Prime, there's a set of what we call common attributes. And that's the glue that ties everything together. It ties the Prime portfolio together, and it actually helps promote Cisco's differentiation in the marketplace. And I'm going to go over what those attributes are. There's 6 of them. And then finally, we announced also an innovative product portfolio. There are 7 products in the product portfolio. We'll go through what those products are. And we're really trying to, the big word with our customers is convergence. Right? You've got too many products. I want to manage voice and video. I don't want multiple products for managing that environment. I want to manage wired and wireless. And guess what? The guys managing the wireless networks are the same guys managing the wired infrastructure. Don't give me multiple products there, right? So our whole word and our theme moving forward is all around convergence. So let me just spend a minute on the common attributes here. So again, what we did is we said, okay, in order to be Prime, there are certain things that need to be exhibited in our portfolio. The first one is what we call around optimizing the operator experience. So those of you who've been around for a long time, many of you have, and I was talking to Greg earlier about Cisco Bloody Works or Cisco Doesn't Work and the old Cisco Works stuff. It wasn't intuitive. The reason we put Cisco Works together was to help our sales guys sell a bunch of products. We didn't have our customer hat on. Customer buys one product, they expect it all to use the same database, the same user interfaces, it needs to look and feel like it's coming from one company. We spent a lot of time, we broke down the application barriers. The applications are now functionally partitioned in the way operators do their job. So it's around inventory, configuration management, reporting. And you're going to see a common menuing structure when you look at the demos that we're going to show you in a few minutes. We wanted to take our 27 years of networking knowledge, our millions and millions of hours of CCIE experience, and push that into our network management to partner with our customers to help them make more informed decisions about managing the network. So a good example there is PSERTs, Product Security Incident Reports. Not a good thing. Typically I'll get a bulletin, I read the bulletin, denial of service attack for multicast, iOS 12.5.3T. I got to go figure out where that vulnerability is in the network. We take that data, download it because we know the customer inventory, we know what versions of iOS are running, we parse that against the inventory, and we can tell you where those vulnerabilities exist in your network. Same thing for end of sale, end of life reporting. We've added a lot of functionality around best practices and network deviations. finding things like where there's duplex mismatches in your network, right? Not always an easy thing to troubleshoot. So we're able to go in and provide those types of things through integrating our best practices. Complete lifecycle management, customers manage around lifecycle, whether they're using idle-based processes or you're always somewhere in the lifecycle, whether it's planning, provisioning, configuring, monitoring, troubleshooting, remediating. So the whole purpose of our portfolio is to augment that lifecycle experience. Number 4 over here, extremely important, is day one device support. There's nothing more frustrating than getting a new platforms from Cisco, plugging it in, not being able to discover it, not being able to inventory it, configure it, download images to it. We've worked very diligently with our hardware stakeholders to ensure that the day that platform ships, it has the instrumentation in it to be managed. Okay, that's extremely important. The other thing is, no one's going to manage Cisco devices better than Cisco. We know the inventory, we know the MIBs, we know the CLI, we know all of the data that goes into building out those detailed inventories and technologies. 5th area is another key area, which is called smart interactions, and that's bringing the network management products closer to the technical support centers. So now you can actually open a service request directly from a fault management panel or from a device management panel within the product. So I can open the service request, and guess what? We know the contract number for that device. We have the serial number of the device, so when you open the TAC case, typically when you call the TAC, you get the TAC engineer on the phone, says, I need you to go collect, show conf, show TAC, inspect or debug, put all that together, and then ship it to me. Well, now when you open the service request, you have the option of capturing all that data, shipping it automatically over to the TAC, where they can begin to work on that particular service request.
But that's if your contracts are linked correctly.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. So we're working on shared support models, but today, good point. Number 6 here is a physical and virtual appliance.
One comment here. We actually have a report that shows you if your contracts cover the devices you have. So, which is pretty cool.
The last attribute here is what we call physical virtual appliance. What we heard a lot from the customers is, hey, if you're supporting Windows or Solaris, I got to download these patches, I got to download these service packs. We now ship one OVA that includes the OS, the application, the database is embedded. I download it to my VM by bare metal. I install it in about 20 minutes. I'm off and running. So that's another key component of the operational attributes. Okay, on the portfolio side, so what we've done is, as I mentioned, we're converging the portfolio around 3 key areas. One is called prime infrastructure. This is converged wired wireless management. Today, when the customer orders, they order a SKU called prime infrastructure. Today, it's 2 installable products. It's LMS and NCS. Okay, but we're moving to a converged code base. It's not there in this release, but it's coming. So the prime infrastructure is all about wired wireless management. Prime collaboration is bringing voice and video together. Again, we have the Unified Communications Management Suite, and we have the Collaboration Manager. You're actually going to be seeing the Collaboration Manager a little bit later in Tomer's demonstration. And that's for managing telepresence and managing video, including the recent Tandberg, the EX90s, the CX90s, and we're moving to add more client support around the collaboration side as well. The last area is called Prime Assurance, and that's really all about providing visibility end-to-end across the architectural plays at Cisco, from the data center to the mobile client and everything in between. So we have a lot of rich instrumentation in our devices. NetFlow, we've got SNMP, we've got Armon, Performance Agent now in iOS. We've got the NAM, the Network Analysis Module. So there's a lot of rich instrumentation, and what we need to do is take that instrumentation and bubble up to a higher level so that, again, we can manage at the application or the service layer rather than drilling down and trying to figure out, well, what instrumentation do I need to collect? What variables do I need to collect? What time frames? How do I normalize it? How do I aggregate it? So that's what assurance is all about. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Tomer, so you can go ahead and fire off your demo. And we're gonna, we typically do use cases, but we thought we'd make this a little more interactive. One of the things I mentioned is that we really need to provide ways to accentuate the Cisco advantage. That's our differentiated technology. So we've come up with a set of work centers that allow you to go in and very easily to deploy things like EnergyWise or TrustSec or MediaNet. So the first one I think you're going to do is around the work center concept.
Yeah, so maybe we'll start with a little bit of background. So, you know, as you can see, I'm the engineer, Mark is the marketing guy, and you know, for me, you know, I've been doing network management for many years, and you know, for many years we were looking on how to make this thing look cool, or how to kind of, you know, make it more interesting, because everyone can pull the devices, everyone can back up their configurations, look at diffs and things like that. But how do we take it to the next level? And this is exactly what Mark was talking about when you know, with all these attributes in Cisco Prime. So this is what we see on the screen, and obviously, you know, this is standard monitoring events. So we have all this, but you know, network management by itself can't be cool without, you know, managing something that is interesting or you know, cool by itself. So this is where we came with the concept of the work centers, where we took technology from Cisco, from the hardware side, right? Like TrustSec, like EnergyWise, Auto SmartPorts, MediaNet, and we're going to talk about some of these later. But some of these technologies are really, you know, they're really interesting, and we want to help customers leverage those technologies.
So a lot of times we'll hear a customer say, hey, I'm interested in EnergyWise, or I'm interested in TrustSec.
Right? I don't know what it does.
Where do I start? What do I do? Is my network even ready for it? So
if I'm a customer and, you know, the IT manager told, I'm the engineer, I want to see if I can deploy EnergyWise, or you know, look at it, examine what it does, I can just go here and click the Getting Started link. And it brings me to a quick introduction of what EnergyWise is. I can click here for more information. And the first thing I see is this pie chart that shows me the readiness assessment for my network, right? So you can see if there are devices that are hardware incapable. So these devices, we have one of these. And by the way, this is a live environment that we've set up for this demo. You know, no mock-ups. It's you know, real environment, around 60 devices. And another comment, all the software that I'm showing today is available for you to download with evaluation license. We'll give you the URL. If you need more licenses, you have my email. Feel free. Hardware incapable devices. There's one device, it cannot run EnergyWise, right? We have 15 devices that are software incapable. So we can run EnergyWise on these devices if we upgrade them to the recommended image, right? So we can select those devices from here and just upgrade the image.
Recommended is image.
Yes.
Recommended by who for what?
That's a good question. So this is recommended. This is the minimum recommended image for EnergyWise. When we actually start the upgrade process, we do an analysis that checks the flash, the RAM, you know, all sorts of things, and show you options. And eventually you'll have to choose which software release is good for you. But it's recommended for EnergyWise, right? So this is like an application within an application for EnergyWise. You move to the global area or you know, to the wider scope when you select upgrade. Okay. But that's a good.
Real quick side question. I'm a SolarWinds user. Performance has been an issue. We actually talked about with them yesterday.
Sure.
What is this running on right now?
Yeah. So
This is running, so Mark mentioned the virtual appliances, so this is running in a VM, and we've benchmarked this to manage up to 10,000 devices with 16 gig of RAM assigned to that VM. It's running on a hardened version of Linux we've embedded, so you get the OVA, it has Linux in it, has everything pre-installed. You just allocate the RAM you need based on the size of the network and you know, start running.
Do you have a sizing guide for that then? Your monitor?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, definitely. We have,
VM like this.
exactly. And we actually have, just to finish on that, we have 3 flavors of the VM that come pre-configured with the memory. You know, so the OVA can allocate or can define how much RAM you have and how many vCPUs, right? So we have that pre-configured for 3 sizes. And you can obviously modify that.
One more side question. How much of Prime is HTML5 and how much of it is Java?
Yeah, so this is actually Flash, And this is now.
What about my iPad?
So you'll see the next. So this was. Yeah, I should have expected that. So, but what Mark mentioned about this common interface and everything. So what we came up with is a framework that we wanted to use across all the Prime products. And this is the first version of that framework. You'll see the next software, the Cisco Prime Assurance that I'm going to show. It's not using Flash anymore. So we're actually enhancing the framework as we go.
I have a question as a follow-up on what Derek asked before. He asked, recommended by whom for what? Which I believe was more serious question than just in a context of energy-wise.
Sure.
One of the purposes of integrated network management systems is that those systems understand what we are currently doing in our network, that understand our technical requirements and the feature requirements from the images. So we can't have just out of the blue recommendation for the image. Is there some correlation of, okay, we want to upgrade to this image and these are the features that you may not be able to do if you upgrade to this image, or this is the image that can support all the features that you currently have deployed in your network?
Yes, so just to show you something, because
I already like your answer.
I'm sorry?
I already like your answer.
So, thank you. I was told it's a tough audience. I don't know why.
Does anybody have one of those guns we can borrow? No.
So, let me just show you something here. We wanted to keep this discussion open and everything. So just to show you some of the knowledge we have about the network, right? Because we've added a lot of analysis capabilities, and I can run report just to see, what I have enabled or running, right? And this is just a subset, right? There's a big table I can get that shows me what is actually turned on the device. Am I using IPv6? Is it capable of running IPv6? Am I using OSPF, right? With all that knowledge, we can check compliance against anything, PCI, HIPAA, whatever, and we can also, we're targeting this for image analysis, so deploying of new images in that area that we're talking about.
How granular can it get? It basically says AAA. Okay, let's do AAA. I mean, there are many things that can be deployed AAA-wise. I mean, how deep into the individual features can it drill down to see? Because this is something that we as network engineers are faced daily when we need to make a decision on the upgrade path. We have to analyze individual features and not just broad support as it says BGP here, but does it support MDT address family in IPv4?
Yes, so
stuff like that.
So we have, so this is a functionality we have out of the box, and it's all documented, and you can understand exactly what stands behind this check mark, right?
Okay.
In later releases, we're actually opening this so you can actually define policies and rules to match against. But for now, it's hard coded, and obviously you're right? Because DHCP could be DHCP server, it could be DHCP relay, it could be DHCP anything, right? So you're right, and this is why we're actually opening it in I think in August release. But
you're opening it in a sense.
Two things. So one thing, just on Brian was talking earlier. All of the database tables are published for this product. So you can go into table views, you can create your own reports, you can query the database. And so exporting with northbound interfaces to trouble ticketing systems or to CMDBs, we have the ability to do that. On the southbound side also, you can come in and issue commands through the command line interface and some of the APIs that are available.
Is it a standard SQL database on the back end?
It is, yeah. It's an embedded database called SQL Anywhere.
But it's a published schema.
Yes.
Yeah, we published the schema, and that's all documented. You can go in and pull it out.
You know what would be really cool?
We watched them.
If you could use that you already showed, slightly more granular, and help us in deploying new features.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. That's where we're targeting
new feature and it will tell me in which image it's available,
Yeah.
and more importantly, which license I need to buy to get it.
Thank you. Now,
Yes.
the good comment that Derek again made on Twitter just now is, why don't you integrate this with your website where you already have that information?
We
So
do.
we are in
so
many
the
cases,
software image update center and the product are very well integrated. So the feature sets that you see when you go pull an image down are all part of the.
So whatever
So
I
we-
can find in the Cisco Feature Navigator, I
Yes.
will be able to match those.
Yeah, the thing is that we invested a lot of our time for doing that, just with speaking with Cisco IT on how to get access to this, how to open APIs and things like that. So we have a lot of this functionality today, and we're actually adding. The major difference here is that this was in the past developed as a silo, right? We have a device, we need to manage it, right? Now it's developed with other BUs, with the entire Cisco, with services, with experts, right? So maybe getting back to our demo, right? So we have the readiness assessment, right? And we want to deploy EnergyWise, okay? So we have this EnergyWise capable devices. I can see all of these devices here. And this is a huge time saver, right? Because if I'm not familiar with EnergyWise, I have 2,000 devices. Where do I start, right? So even this readiness assessment can be can be critical. So I can select a device from the list, or multiple devices, or all of them, and just enable EnergyWise. And here, it's all about the technology. I won't dive too deep into that, but it's all about creating EnergyWise domains and power policies. Let me show you some of that. But if you read the introduction, you should be able to know how to kind of go step by step to build your EnergyWise domains, to build your EnergyWise policies, so you can turn on or turn off your APs by controlling the PoE ports at night, right? You can do
the
all
domain
sorts
is
of
just
nice
a grouping of PoE ports that you
do
want
all
to apply
sorts of-
policy to.
It's just energy
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah.
You want to turn
Exactly.
stuff off, and you
So-
set a policy to say this group gets turned off.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, and the thing is that we don't want to have users mess with, CLI and stuff. Obviously, this will be translated to iOS commands that you can preview and push to the devices. But you can see, just move a slider to change the power level. You don't need to,
So
know
we
what the power
have
levels are.
about 10 minutes. So the whole point of the work centers are self-contained end-to-end workflows for deploying TrustSec. TrustSec might have been more interesting for this group, but you can do the full TrustSec deployment, configuring radius, the 3 different TrustSec modes of operation, monitoring mode, and of course you need to be able to report it on these
Yeah.
things too. So.
Yeah, so just last piece on the work centers, and we took EnergyWise as an example because we want to be green and we want to save trees and save the earth and everything. But our routers don't take a lot of energy, by the way. But so when we deployed EnergyWise, we want to see if we're actually saving energy. So we provide a dashboard for EnergyWise. So we're saving, carbon emissions, tree savings, after hours. Like I said, we want to make it a bit more cool. It's actually very cool. We're going to call it iPrime.
So Tomer, the next one is, why don't we show the Cloud Manager
yeah.
managing telepresence, so you can get an idea of that service-centric, top-down management.
Yeah. So.
So I'm going to ask you a question I'm going to ask a question
Yeah.
before we dive into the telepresence management stuff real quick. You guys mentioned something that was really interesting to me earlier, being able to do metrics and jitter and latency and
Yes.
a lot of those things. There's special sauce in there, I'm guessing. Are we going to get to any of that?
A little bit. We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we're going to try and do as much as we can in the next 7 minutes. So.
Let's hold our questions off maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can take that offline, maybe, or if we'll have more time, I'll be happy to do that. The thing is that this is telepresence management, but in a different way. Any of you seen Collab Manager before? No. Good. So, yep. So, Collaboration Manager uses, it interacts with all the call control servers, with all the telepresence endpoints, the CTS, the EX series, and but it also knows about the networking infrastructure. And in fact, that's the only product that can show you information from telepresence sessions or from video sessions and combine it with the networking side. So even if you're not interested in telepresence, this is a really interesting product to look at. Because
a question about MediaNet integration as well, so cover that.
Yeah, so I will show that. Thing is that if I'm the video operator, of course I can manage the entire video infrastructure. But the thing is that if I see a video call right in my list, this is a maybe my CFO having a call with someone really important. I can see that this call has a problem, and I can see the call's topology. So these are the two endpoints, and there's something wrong in this call, right? So highlighting one of the endpoints, I can see that there is a video degradation, there's an audio degradation. Obviously, this CFO is now suffering, finally. So what we can do here is troubleshoot this session. And this is where we use the advanced instrumentation from Cisco. So what you'll see in a second is a view that is coming from media trace. So this is to the question about MediaNet. Right? So MediaNet is a set of features, for those of you who are not familiar with it, on the devices. And it allows us to do all sorts of things. This is something like traceroute, but really smart, right? So it does layer 2, layer 3. It runs on the exact video flow. So we can see the path between these two endpoints, see all the routers and switches in the middle. And using MediaNet, we can look at jitter, packet loss, all sorts of matrices for this path, right? So we can see all the routers at the bottom, and clicking jitter and packet loss, we can see that this is the jitter, right? And the size of the bubble is actually the packet loss, right? So this is really powerful because I started from the video call, and using MediaNet, I can see that this hop is sensing some jitter and packet loss for this video flow, right? And this is really unique because you're probably familiar with it, right? How do you know if a specific video stream has degradation, right? Without that, you can look at the interface level, see if you have packet drops, but with the proper quality of service, that doesn't mean anything, right? So you can also see the DSCP marking. So the IP DSCP to see if the traffic is marked properly, right? And you get that just with a click, right? It's a huge time saver. This is actually coming from, the requirements for this came from Cisco IT, which is the largest telepresence deployment in the world.
One of the other important things, though, is before John Chambers gets on a call to do an analyst telepresence, we need to make sure, before he gets on the call, we want to make sure that there's adequate bandwidth in the network. So
that's a good point. So we also use another feature from MediaNet, which is the IPSLA video operation. So if I want to see if there is enough bandwidth between New York and LA, right? So I can check, select New York, LA. These are the switches on both sides, and select the application type. So what I do here, I selected telepresence 6.6 megabits. The switch will actually generate 6.6 megabits of traffic. That is like a recorded telepresence session. The switch is capable of running it, right? It will send it to the LA switch.
When we say switch, what is that device?
It's a 3750.
It has traffic generation capabilities tied to MediaNet inside of it.
Exactly.
If you are not using telepresence or Tandberg technology end to end, can you still use a subset of the technology?
Yes, that's the thing, right? And this is why you can download this software if you have two switches.
Now this is interesting to me because this is the secret sauce that I'm talking about. That comes down to the jitter and the latency and those things. Being able to do packet generation analysis. I mean, this is boxing NAM, the functions of NAM into a viable platform.
So we actually, in some products, we leverage. So a part of Cisco Prime, we have the Cisco Prime Assurance that uses information from NAM if you have it. If you don't have NAM, we'll use the device's instrumentation. So there's advantages to each option. This is not using anything but the switches. So this is, like I said, this is the New York switch, 3750, sending traffic to the LA switch. And you can see the entire path without having any video endpoint. You don't need any VCS, TMS, EX60, all those things I don't know anything
But you
about.
can synthetically define jitter and latency and all those things based on the loads you're creating.
And so you can see if there is real jitter. You can't insert jitter or
No, but
latency.
you can do traffic analysis based on
Exactly,
that.
that's the idea. So you get the
Sorry,
same
Marco, go
views.
ahead.
So this is step 5 of 6. Once this completes, I'll be able to go to the median path view and show you all these bubbles that we saw before for the real call, but this is for the simulated call.
There was a very popular request on, I believe, all of our Twitter feeds, and this is all fine and interesting, but one of the biggest things that we would like to see is some sort of a device management functionality.
Yeah.
So can you, do you have a demo ready that you can show us how you would, I don't know, pull the configs, deploy the configs?
Oh yeah, we have
something,
that's-
something along those
So
lines.
that's the basic blocking and tackling functionality and the infrastructure management piece. We were showing you more some of the services
Yeah, the more
level
advanced
stuff.
ones, but we have.
But
so
some
we
of
have
this basic functionality was what was broken in the previous management
I agree.
system,
Sure.
so that's what we would like to see, you know.
Yep.
You're
I
biased
agree.
here, but biased completely.
I agree. So for what we wanted to cover is the more advanced, like the cool stuff. But what we also do, the monitoring, inventory, configuration. I just logged into the configuration dashboard, and you can see config changes. You can see based on the configuration, you can see discrepancies and best practice deviations. I just took configuration as an
The
example.
other thing you
know,
might point out is you'll notice there's non-Cisco devices in the inventory of the lab there. So we will monitor and discover non-Cisco equipment. We'll
But you
do
won't
some
be able to do
basic.
anything with it.
Well, we'll do some basic MIB2 level inventory functions on it. That's what the now, and we're also now bringing in traps from non-Cisco gear into our event. Okay.
Yeah. So you know, there are a lot of I could look at monitoring or inventory. This is configuration, right? So I just click this hyperlink for config change. I can see side by side the config change, the diff only. You know, we create versions of the configuration every time there's a change. So you have historical archive, and then you can do all those diffs and everything. You can roll back. So you know, there's a lot of functionality here.
Is this tied to the archive functionality on the guys? Greg, is it tied to the archive functionality on the routers themselves? What happens if somebody manages the device outside of this management domain?
Yes. So we also listen to syslogs coming from the devices. So once we receive a config change syslog, we'll go out to the device, check if there's a config change, and archive it.
The archive is automated. It's automatically updated.
Yeah.
AAA, syslog, there are various ways we can see a change.
And you know, you all have the a lot of content that we've included in the flash drive and my email address.
Yeah.
You know, just feel free if you.
Yeah, all of the products that we showed are available at cisco.com/go/NMS evals. Remember the S at the end, NMS evals. And you can go up there. We have there are either 60 or 90-day evaluations, live software for 100 devices.
Yeah, so you just
And
go
so
here.
you can go and pull those down and load them up on your VMs and go off and try any of this stuff out.